Hi, I'm Loralin Toney. I am the Arts Walk cover artist for 2017. Welcome to my home. If you'd like to, we can go upstairs and check out my art studio. Hi, welcome to my studio. As you can see, it's just a small part of my house. It's about 8 feet by 3 feet is where I do most of my work. I live in a very small house. This is in fact my bedroom, my living room, and my art studio, and my library. So when I'm doing my work, I usually do it here at this desk. And you can see I've got a lot of my porcelain components on the desk already. I've got some main figures for my sculptures. I have some little porcelain pieces that will go on some of the sculptures. Here's some of the glass and metal pieces that will go on there. And you can see over here, these are some of the pieces that I'm currently working on. They are made of wood, copper, and porcelain with a little bit of glass thrown in. You can also see I have a couple clipboards that I keep around the studio that have imagery that I've been working on for the show. So there might be some drawings, I have some sketches, and that kind of keeps me focused on what my final goal is. So I'd like to talk a little bit about the porcelain that I put into my multimedia pieces. This is a high fire porcelain. This one has a shiny glaze on it. You'll see that this is what the porcelain looks like before I actually sculpt it. I do all of the sculpting by hand using just a handful of tools. You can see there's a little sampling of some of the tools I use. I use a sponge, I have some sculpting tools, I have a lot of cutting tools. And then it goes through 2 firings before it's finished. You can see some of these pieces actually have wire. They have a high fire wire that's embedded in it. That's another part that I use with the porcelain. So a lot of my new work has a lot of rain in it. And how do you make rain in your sculpture? Well, right now the way that I'm representing rain is I use this very high quality brass chain. I order it in large quantities, and then I use these little Japanese glass beads. And they're just beautiful. They kind of shimmer and they have some movement. And otherwise, the sculptures are very still. So this adds a little fun, little whimsy, and it catches the light. You can see there are hundreds and hundreds of these beads. It takes hours to assemble these strands. And there's just something about the construction of my work and how long it takes that I really enjoy. I kind of move into this kind of calm state, and it just cleans everything out of my head. So I really like that repetitiveness. I like how much time it takes for each aspect of my sculpture. So I guess what I'll do now is talk a little bit about the copper components that I use in my work. You can see here this is a tidy little bundle, and usually it's spread all over the room. What it is it's reefer tubing and it's copper ground wire, and then I also use some smaller wire as well, all the way down to 28 gauge, which is a very small wire. So there's about 10 different sizes, and the reason there's so many sizes is what I'm trying to do is to create kind of a more natural look when I'm doing my metal work and my wire work. So if you can take one large size and then reduce that down several ways, then it looks much more natural, like something that came out of nature. After the copper has been cut, what I do in order to assemble it is I use a torch. It's called brazing, and I use a copper colored solder. And then once the piece is assembled and you can see it's quite strong, it has all these very strong joints, then I might patina it, I might paint it with a couple coats of paint. I might even add some metal paint in there so that later it starts to change color. But right now you can see it's just in its raw form. So in this particular series, there's hours and hours in each piece of copper work, and I've only just begun. And at this point, there is about 100 pieces of copper in this piece, and there's probably going to end up being about 200 by the time I'm done. This is the cover piece that was chosen for the 2017 Arts Walk cover. You'll see it has kind of a flat look, and these 2 wings were meant to be almost maybe to resemble a book, the past and the present. There's a lot of raindrops, and you might have already guessed that it's kind of a celebration of the rain. We get a lot of rain in Olympia, so I wanted to kind of do a piece that celebrated that. You'll see there's a figure. I meant to kind of create a figure that would embody Olympia itself. And then there's this octopus, which really kind of represents the Puget Sound. You'll see this is the wood. There's some wood parts here, all the black, and this part's up here. And then there's copper elements, and then all the glass water droplets. I make art because it's kind of a compulsion. I think when I was really young, I compulsively would draw over and over and over the same imagery. I spent hours drawing, and I was just compulsive about it. My parents allowed me to paint on the walls, and we didn't watch any television, so that might have affected my childhood years and helped formulate what eventually became kind of an art career. And I think over the last 40 years, my goal has been to create space and time that I'd be able to do more of it, to do more art. When I finish a piece, I get a sense of real completion and excitement. I think part of it is that I have had an idea and it's been in my head, and then that idea kind of came out into the physical world. And to see the connection between that imagery and then to see how similar it looked in person and in the physical world, it's just really exciting for me. And I can come up with anything and try, so I want to learn to be able to make anything that comes out of my head. So when I moved to Olympia, I noticed there was a lot of artists here. And not long after arriving in Olympia, I noticed that there was this really great venue called the Arts Walk. And because it was this very informal and very casual thing, I immediately started making artwork and showing my work. I think I was maybe 21 or 22. So I've been doing the Olympia Art Walk for about 24 years, and I just love it. The best thing about Art Walk for me as kind of a low-key artist is that I feel really comfortable being able to show my work. I don't feel a lot of pressure. I don't feel the pressure that I have to sell it or that it has to look a certain way, and that I can just exhibit it to the public. So overall, I think it's one of the most amazing things about Olympia.